Foreign travel firms are charging up to £9,000 to shoot deer in Woburn Abbey Deer Park.
So I recently came across this episode of This Morning, and they're interviewing Charlie Jacobe and a guy from Lax about deer stalking, and apparently there's some case of some trophy hunting, which is obviously a trigger term for certain people. And I thought I'd cover it because although Charlie did a great job responding to these various questions, he didn't get a chance to really go into any detail because it's the mainstream media, and you know how it is, everything's in sound bites. So I won't be including an awful lot of Charlie in this because I'm going to kind of take his seat on the sofa, as it were, and give my response. So let's hear what they've got to say for themselves.
I think a lot of people would say, Charlie, though, why can't it be done more humanely? Why can't you take them away? Why, as we saw with the elephants there, the other animals are grieving, the other animals are feeling pain, the other animals have witnessed this murder as well. And there you see the reaction from the other animals.
Okay, I think murder's a bit strong.
I think murder's a bit strong as well. To put this into context, Charlie's just fairly eloquently, in the time that he had, explained why deers are cold, and also pointed out to the guy from Lax that if you don't do it, it causes lots of problems, which is exactly what happened at the League Against Cruel Sport's own deer park. But I digress. Eamon Holmes here is participating in your classical anthropomorphism. It's like he's saying, why does it have to be so brutal? Why can't you just get a vet to do it? And I'm like, well, because vets aren't very good deer stalkers? Or if they were, they'd probably use a rifle? I mean, what does he think he's going to do? Like, walk up to the deer and sort of say, come on, lad, it's time to be put down now, and rear them up and put them somewhere and put them down. Now, that's obviously very naive, but even if it was possible, you would be kind of mimicking what we do in the supply chain for food, where we get animals and we put them in some sort of intensive environment and make them queue up whilst they're waiting to be slaughtered. And when you get like cows, for instance, although, the way we dispatch cows is very humane, it looks brutal, but once they're jabbed with that cattle prod, they're out for the count. What isn't humane is the weight, the knowledge of what's going to happen to them, the smell of death. These deer have a great life, and they get a bullet through the rib cage, and they're out for the count in seconds. I mean, that's really a good death. I mean, to put this in perspective, I got in a little trouble recently because, well, not trouble, but I upset a few of you guys because I shared something on Facebook that's sort of been brought to my attention. And it was a guy in America, and I won't play the audio on this because that's the bit that's harrowing, but it's a guy in America who was filming in his garden, and what looks like a small grizzly bear has got hold of a white-tailed deer, and he's killing it. Now, it's really hard to watch. It's really brutal. The noises that deer make are horrible, and it goes on for a really long period of time. But that is nature. That is reality. That is what happens in a normal ecosystem. That's what used to happen here when we had lynxes, because lynxes could go out and they would take down roe deer. That was their primary food. But we don't have any predators anymore. We don't have any bears, because bears would have taken deer too, but we've got rid of all of them. We've got rid of all the lynxes. So now we have a deer population. Now we have a duty to make sure that deer population is healthy. We have to make sure that they don't get out of control, because if they do, they start getting disease and they start dying in a slow, painful, horrible way. Now, the alternative is, we reintroduce predators. But I guess I don't need to explain why that could be a bad idea for agriculture and for the safety of people. But even if we ignored all that and we did it anyway, the way these animals would die would be just like in that video with the bear. It would be slow, painful, and horrible. There's nothing wrong with shooting them.
So Charlie is saying this is just herd management. You know, we want to protect these species, and some of them were endangered at some point. Somewhere like Woburn Deer Park are managing their herd, and to manage their herd, you need to cull so they don't overpopulate. How would you answer that?
Let's be clear. This isn't culling. This is trophy hunting. Pure and simple. They're breeding deer and they're shooting deer. And if this is population control, stop breeding them. This has got nothing to do with culling, and it's really convenient to try and tie these two arguments together, but they're not. They are separate issues. This is trophy hunting, pure and simple.
So why are they breeding? I mean, that's a good point Chris makes. If you don't breed them, you don't need to cull them, do you?
Well, no. They unfortunately, wild animals just breed by themselves. It's difficult to stop them.
Yeah, Charlie makes a good point here. And deer do have a tendency to breed on their own. We don't really have a way of making them use contraception or what have you. But this does really kind of raise a wider point of the sort of sheer ignorance of this guy from Lax. I can forgive the presenters on this show for this because, I mean, they don't know. They're just mainstream media people. They don't know anything about this. But that guy from Lax is supposed to know. You know, it's the League Against Cruel Sports, apparently. So you would think they would understand what these alleged cruel sports were about and what deer population control was about. But apparently not. Apparently in his mind, we're putting deer in, I don't know, pens somewhere and like feeding them and then releasing them into the wild so these evil hunters can come in and pay £9,000 to shoot them. Well, no, that's not what happens. We don't live in a natural environment. I've said this so many times before, but you fly a plane over the UK. What do you see? Do you see rolling hills of forestry? No, you don't. You see agriculture. You see a patchwork quilt of agriculture. That's all of our natural environment has been changed by us. All of the large predators have been killed to extinction in this country by us, like lynxes or bears or wolves or what have you. Anything that would predate upon these deer have gone. So we, as I said before, have a duty to make sure that they're culled. But that has to be paid for by someone. I mean, it's not free. I mean, sure, you know, I'll go out and shoot a deer and I'm not charging anyone for that. But the land has to be maintained. The habitat has to be maintained. Deer need cover. You know, during the night, they don't just wander around in fields. They need cover. I mean, sure, there are no predators anymore, but that's where they like to go. That's how they like to live. So if you want to encourage landowners to do that, to create an environment where deer will flourish, then you need to make that financially viable. And if you've got someone willing to pay £9,000 for a holiday, because it's been laid out in this segment that someone's paying £9,000 to shoot a buck, and that's not the case at all. It's to have a holiday, effectively. You know, you'll go and stay somewhere for maybe 4 or 5 days, and you'll have lots of nice food and wine and be treated to a sort of first-class, you know, holiday, as it were. And then you'll get taken out stalking and you'll get a buck. That's what it's about. And that's beautiful. That's wonderful. That means somebody who wants to go and hunt can do so. They get something out of it. And then it means that the landowner has a reason not to chop all the trees down and destroy the habitat for these deer, effectively wiping them out and creating agriculture. This is no different to trophy hunting in Africa. It's exactly the same principle. It's monetizing nature.
So hold on, there's a lot of response to all of this. Daniel says, I'd happily participate in this. Millions of cattle are killed every week. You can't be a meat eater and complain about this, knowing that in some way you too are contributing to an animal being killed. Chris, what would you say about that?
These are two separate arguments. But just to come back to your kind of trophy hunting in Africa and where and how governments are turning away from this and their animal wildlife losers. Cecil the lion.
Yeah.
$55,000 to have shot Cecil the lion. The lodge keeper down the road said, actually, we earned that much from this group being here photographing Cecil the lion in a week. Yeah. It's estimated they would have raised $1 million by Cecil being alive. $55,000, Cecil's dead, gone.
Now, it appears that this guy doesn't seem to understand capitalism, basic economics. And it's strange, isn't it? Because you get the sort of, I mean, I don't mean to stereotype, but the sort of people who tend to be animal rights activists or vegans, not always, but they tend to be this sort of Marxist type of person. And they don't really get why the free market works. And the reason it works is that people will do what is the most profitable. So if it's true to say that there could have been more money made by people photographing Cecil the lion rather than shooting him, then he'd still be alive, wouldn't he? They wouldn't have shot him. If they did, well, yeah, maybe they made a mistake, but over a period of time, they're going to know that it's not good to kill the goose that lays the golden eggs. If it truly was more profitable to get people photographing these animals all of the time, then that's what they would do. You know, it's funny because I spent some time in Africa last year, and the places I went to on safari were like farms that had been converted into areas of conservation. So tourists like me could go there and look at the lions and so on. In fact, I looked at some white lions while I was there, which are, you know, the only place in the world where these lions exist. Now, in every lodge, there's a guy with what I believe to be a .375 Holland. I could be wrong, but a very large rifle. And they have to shoot lions every so often. And they do that because what happens is you'll get, this is how it was explained to me, but what happens is you'll get a pride of lions on a neighbouring farm because lions need a very large area for their pride. And what will happen is a youngster will overthrow, as it were, the dominant male of that pride, and they'll give him a good duffing up. They don't usually kill him, but they give him a good duffing up and send him on his way. Now, what often happens is there's a number of things that can happen after that. Very often that lion is quite badly injured and it'll just slowly die over a long period of time, being attacked by, you know, jackals and whatever is around that will eventually kill him. But sometimes they get away all right. Then, you know, they've been duffed up enough to want to sort of no longer be in the pride, but they're in pretty good health still, and they're still a big, formidable animal. So they move on to the neighbouring pride's area, i.e. where I was looking at these lions, and then he'll start attacking the pride, because what he'll do is he'll want to become the dominant male, and he'll kill all the babies. If there's like, you know, cubs, like small cubs, he'll kill and eat them, because obviously he doesn't want them around because they're not his DNA, and he'll take over the pride, and it causes a lot of problems. So when that happens, they shoot him, because they don't want him breeding with their lions. It fucks, sorry, excuse my language, but it fucks everything up, especially if you've got a white lion population you want to maintain. So they have to shoot them. Now, fair enough. In this particular area of conservation, they choose not to charge money to people for doing that. But they could do that. And why not? Someone's got to shoot it anyway. So somebody wants to spend thousands and thousands of pounds. That's great. That gives them even more money to increase conservation. And yeah, they'll make a profit. And yeah, somebody's enjoying it and paying to do it. And there's nothing wrong with that. And this is what it comes down to with these people. They're trying to make a pseudo-moral argument. In their mind, it is just wrong to enjoy to hunt. They think it's wrong that you should want to kill something, that you enjoy that. No matter how logical it is, no matter how good it is for the animals, to them, they just can't tolerate that somebody would want to do that. But for me, that's saying that I should be denied my own humanity as a human being, because we are hunters. Get over it.